Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today is Monday, which means it's time for an episode of Loadout, the series where you guys, the viewers, get to pick a gun and customization for me to use in Battlefield 4. The way you do this is you leave a comment down below, letting me know what kind of weapon and accessories you'd like me to run with, and I will pick one of the top-rated comments for the next episode. Today's top comment comes from Shadowstar. He says, the Timur Glazkov Loadout from Rainbow Six Siege, aka Glaz. Class is Recon. Primary will be the SVD-12, closest thing to Glaz's OTS-03. The attachments will be a 2x Magnifier flip-up sight, a Cobra sight, no underbarrel, and no muzzle. Secondary will be the MP443 handgun. Attachments are iron sights, suppressor, and red laser. Gadget 1 will be C4 for breaching charges, and we won't have a Gadget 2. Grenades will be smoke grenades, perk defensive, knife machete. And then we have the cool little quote from Glaz's intro video. Do you know what an artist and a sniper have in common? Details. Like when a touch of color is out of place, when a shadow does not match with its surroundings, or when a shape is not where it's supposed to be. The only difference is the stakes. Mine are higher. You are Timur Glazkov, operator of the Russian Spetsnaz specializing in marksmanship. Take out your enemies from a distance using your flip-up sight and lower it for close quarters. Use C4 as breaching charges to blow holes in walls for new entrances. Use your smoke grenades to close in on objectives unseen. Hey LevelCap, since you love Siege so much, I thought of another loadout for you to use, which seems pretty interesting for Battlefield 4. I hope you'll have fun with it, as I personally thought the loadout having a flip-up magnifier is something that has not been all that common in this series. Enjoy and have fun. Now, I really do appreciate the Rainbow Six Siege loadout. I've been playing a lot of that game recently, and I'm loving it. Glaz is an interesting character in that game, and his loadout actually translates to Battlefield 4 surprisingly successfully. Though I will say the flip-up magnifier is something that is rendered just painfully inaccurately compared to what it would look like in real life. For the most part, it should look like any other magnified scope, but you actually have a huge percentage of the inside of the magnifier that is rendered for this one, and then you also see a lot of the optic in front of your magnifier, which would either be totally out of focus or invisible entirely. So just the rendering of the flip-up magnifier is really ugly and kind of detrimental to your general view screen. And the way it's rendered in Rainbow Six Siege is actually far more accurate to the real version. I think Battlefield 4 just needs to rework flip-up sights in general, because nobody's using them and they're not popular in loadouts because they're just so ugly and frankly detrimental. Also, a lot of flip-up magnifiers in real life are 3x multipliers rather than 2x multipliers, so they give you a little bit more clarity and precision at further ranges than just the 2x. Perhaps this is something that Battlefield can remedy or portray more accurately in future Battlefield games. Now, as far as it comes to the SVD-12, it's a good DMR. I like it. The damage output is good. It's got a nice large magazine capacity, so you can spam that fire, don't have to worry too much about that reload. Definitely aiming for the headshots is going to help out. If you don't aim for the head, you're pretty much a guaranteed 3-shot kill no matter what distance you hit your opponent, unless you're hitting all leg shots or something like that. It's got a 260 round per minute rate of fire. Again, these stats can all be found on simthic.com. And most importantly, the muzzle velocity is good. It's 590 meters per second, almost 60, so it means you're going to be able to hit moving targets and distance targets a lot easier. Now, I really had a lot of fun using this class when playing the Rush game mode, because you can really control your engagement distances a lot better in Rush. You can have longer engagement distances if that's what you want. Generally speaking, that's where you want to be using your DMR most of the time. It's great defensively because you can back yourself off from the objective a little bit and pick people off on the outside trying to flank, or you can find great sniper locations up high somewhere. And then if you're playing offensively, well, you've got the smoke grenades and you can actually use those to push up pretty effectively. The DMRs can still handle themselves in close quarters. They're not great for it, but if you come up on somebody unsuspecting, it's no problem. You can take them out very easily. Now, one area of this loadout where they are sacrificing the authenticity to Rainbow Six Siege for performance, in my opinion anyway, is not using an angled foregrip. That angled foregrip reduces your first shot recoil, and first shot recoil is pretty much all you're experiencing when shooting a DMR. So if you want lesser recoil, which is very important for hitting back-to-back shots in the same location, then you want an angled foregrip. It'll just be easier to track targets, and especially when using the flip-up magnifier, it'll just make that recoil jump less intense. Now, in taking this weapon into team deathmatch, it can also be quite a bit of fun, but you have to play, I think, the right kind of team deathmatch game mode. This is one of the few instances where I think 64-player TDM is actually more enjoyable, because if you're playing a sniper class, it means that 64-player TDM, they're usually going to divide the map. There's going to be front lines most of the time, and you can kind of situate yourself then in the backfield. You don't have to be constantly running around checking angles and all that stuff. You can stay back from the front lines and engage people at a distance, use your teammates to help you pinpoint where the enemies are, and just be a good sniper class. Do your job as a sniper. Stay in the backfields and put down a lot of suppressing fire and get a lot of kills. Once the enemy team knows that there's a really good sniper in a certain part of the map, they're either less inclined to go there, or they might just switch to sniper classes themselves to try and counter you. Either way, it's kind of a win, because I think having too many snipers on one team is not a good team composition, and if you force them all into the other part of the map, then you're basically opening up flanking rats for your teammates. Now that smoke grenades actually block Iron V and FLIR optics, I was finding them so much more useful for pushing up onto the MCOMs, and it was really nice being that guy in my squad in games of Rush that was actually putting down really great visual cover and allowing not just myself to push up, but my teammates as well. Especially on Gold Mud Railway here, that can be very, very open and have these big, long stretches of open field. This would have been so much more difficult and annoying had somebody had a FLIR optic and was just picking us off as we're running through the smoke. So it's nice for a change to actually have some real visual cover, and it makes such a tactical difference, and honestly makes Rush so much more enjoyable. Now, occasionally I would switch to the suppressed MP443 in close range if I needed it, but I will say, especially in combination with smoke, the laser sight wasn't really doing me any favors other than just letting everybody know where I was. Laser sights are kind of hit and miss for me. I generally prefer not to use them because I feel like the bright red light is too much of a giveaway, and if you don't kill somebody instantaneously, then you're just spotting yourself out. So if you want to move stealthily and sneak around the map, laser sight is not always necessary. You can always put it on your weapon and turn it off, though. The only problem is that when you die or you're switching guns a lot and stuff like that, it will get turned back on, so you just have to be aware of that. It would be nice actually to have an in-game option that you could say have laser sights off by default. That way you could turn it on when you need it, rather than just having to turn it off all the time. Ultimately, though, this was actually a very fun loadout and surprisingly effective. I got a lot of MCOM arms with it and got a lot of kills at the same time. Your biggest threat is always going to be close quarter combat. DMRs just cannot kill people fast enough in CQB, usually requiring 3 shots minimum. Anybody with an automatic weapon is going to drop you in like half the time or a third the time it would take you to drop them. Now, don't forget to leave your comments for next week's episode of Loadout. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.